We have a brand new firmware update for both the Zhiyun Crane 2S and the Weebill S. The new features that come in this update are new auto rotation modes for the vortex mode, and we also have automated options in video mode that will automatically pan, tilt, and even control the roll of the gimbal if we want to film ourselves or even use the gimbals on a slider. So before I talk more details on how to use those modes, let me show you how to update your gimbal. The ZY Play app from Zhiyun is now updated, so you don't have to really finagle around the app to update your gimbals. All you have to do is just connect to your gimbals after you launch the app. As soon as it's connected to your gimbal, you'll see a banner at the top of your screen saying that there is a new update available. Just tap the banner and then go through the update process. The ZY Play app has been updated, so there's no need to use your computer and hook it up to your gimbal that way. That is a much longer process, and this new app is so much easier to use when updating the firmware on your gimbals. Now, the firmware is going to take about 5 or 6 minutes to load onto your gimbal. So once it's done loading, it's going to shut off your gimbal, and then all you have to do is restart it, and you'll have the brand new firmware version. All right, so let's talk about the new vortex mode. So a lot of people, including me, have been pressuring Zhiyun to have more auto rotation options in the vortex mode. And now we have it. We actually have a dedicated spot in the menu to adjust vortex mode settings. So go ahead and press on the bottom portion of the dial, enter the menu, and then scroll down to vortex. Right-click on vortex and we'll have options such as speed, direction, and angle. The speed is pretty self-explanatory. How fast do you want the vortex mode to spin? The direction, also self-explanatory. Do you want it to spin clockwise or counterclockwise? And the angle is how many spins do you want the vortex mode to make? If you want a lot of spins, then make sure that the angle is a high number. The presets are 360 degrees and 720 degrees. Go down to custom and insert your own angle if you want more spins. Great, once you've set your settings, you can go ahead and enter vortex mode by pressing the mode button twice. And then twice again after you hit POV. Now to start the auto rotation, all you have to do is double press the upper button on the dial. And now you can see it spinning. This, of course, is for the Crane 2S. On the Weebill S, it's a little bit different. I'll go over that process as well in this video. All right, once you're done with the vortex mode, you can exit out of vortex mode or press the trigger and it will stop and go back into its regular modes. Now let's go back into the menu and scroll down to trajectory. This is also a new option that we just got from this new firmware update. Right press on the dial to enter that. And trajectory mode is basically what I mentioned earlier in the video, where the gimbal will have its own certain keyframes and automatically move its tilt, pan, and roll axes. So we have multiple options here. We have preset mode, points, time, preview, and start. So we first have presets, and this will allow you to save any current setting that you have for these auto modes, and that way you can easily access them whenever you're using your gimbal. When you go into mode, we have two options. We have photo mode for time lapses and video mode. I'm usually going to use this mode for video, so I'm going to select video, and then we have points. Go ahead and right click on points, and then use the joystick on the gimbal and say your A point. Once you're happy with your A point, right press on the dial, and then go ahead and move the gimbal to your B point. And you can enter a lot of different points as you see fit. And once you're happy with that, you have two different options. You can either finish the process of setting your keyframes, or you can clear any point and redo those points if you weren't happy with them. So once you're happy, go ahead and right press on the finish option. It's going to save it to the gimbal. And now let's scroll down to time. And this is basically the duration of how long you want this movement to last. Interval is going to be for your time lapses, and duration is going to be for your video mode. Now at this time, the firmware only supports a minimum time of 2 minutes. So if you're filming an interview and you have your gimbal on a slider, that might be kind of an issue. I also noticed that we don't have a bounce option, meaning that the gimbal won't repeat the movement after it's completed. So hopefully they'll incorporate that in the next firmware update, and I'll keep you updated on that as well. But this is a good start to automation on this gimbal. So once you're happy with your settings, you can go ahead and save them by hitting the left button on the dial. And now we have more options such as preview, and this will preview the movement before we actually shoot with that movement. So right press on preview, and it will just show you what this movement is going to look like in fast motion. And once you're happy with that, you can go down to start, right press on start, and the gimbal will start making that movement. Now, one little issue here I also did notice is that there's no way to actually exit this mode once it's started running. So the only way to do that is to power off the gimbal and then power it back on. I've tried many different button combinations, but the gimbal just doesn't want to stop unless you power it off. So hopefully they can fix that in the next firmware update as well. Now, this new firmware update didn't just give us new filming modes, but they also made the algorithm on both the Crane 2S and the Weebill S much better. So for those of you who had some vibration issues, well, they basically eliminated those issues. So this is by far the most stable the Crane 2S or Weebill S have ever been. Now let's talk about the Weebill S and let's see what's new on that gimbal, because we do have an extra mode that the Crane 2S doesn't have. So if you go into the menu, you'll notice that it looks basically the same as the Crane 2S. We have that vortex option where we can change all the vortex settings, and we also have the trajectory settings. Now below that we have tracking, and if you right press on the dial and enter that tracking option, you'll notice that we have different focal lengths. So you want to select the right one depending on the lens that you're using. Don't forget, you do need to have your Weebill S completely rigged out with the HD video transmission system, because that is what enables that tracking mode. And I did a full comprehensive tutorial on how to hook that up right here, so make sure you check that out. So that is the new firmware update. If you haven't updated your gimbals yet, I've tested it, it works. There's been no failure with any of these gimbals. I had about 6 to 7 days to test it out and it's been flawless. So make sure you update your gimbals and enjoy these new features now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.